Okay, we're going on now to simple interest. We don't see it too well. Let's just bring that in there a little bit better. Okay, simple interest. And we're going to take a look at strategy to solve these. So let's read and pause. Now, for something like this is something we're going to use. Interest equals principal times the rate times the time. That's our basic formula that we'll be using in this. Now, he has a certain amount of money, which will be his principal. But for these, we're going to divide this 10,000 into two parts. Now in chapter 4, we did this using two letters, but we'll do it as we did in chapter 2. We're only going to use one letter. So we have to figure out a way to divide $10,000 into two parts. So remember, if this is 10,000, this is our total investment. We want to divide it into two parts. So part of it would be X, and part of it would be 10,000 minus X. So now we have divided this 10,000 into two parts. Now we want to find the amount invested at 6%, so that's what will make our X. This is the 6%. And then this will be the 8%. So, out of this, we're going to have an investment, or an interest, I should say, of this much money. So, how much would he invest at each part? All right, that's pretty good interest here. Okay, so let's look at this. We know he's going to make 6% of X, which is a portion of that 10,000 that will give him some interest, plus the other invested at 8%, which is 10,000 minus X, which is, again, another portion of the principal at a certain rate, which will give him interest. So the sum of these two interests will be, and there is our equation. So we had done some like this in chapter 2, and here we see it again. The key is you have this certain amount, which we're dividing into two parts. Now in chapter 4, I meant to do this on some of the others. We could do it this way. We would write it X plus Y equals 10,000. Did I get too many zeros there? I think so. And then we're going to have 6% of X plus 8% of Y equals. So in chapter 2, we did it this way. in chapter 4, we would do it this way. Now, in looking at example 2, that's a little different. So we'll take a look at number 2. So if you've paused and read it, we'll take a look at this. Now, do we know the total amount he had to invest? And the answer is no. So we know there were two amounts. So one amount will be X, which is the unknown amount, and the other amount is going to be that amount and 5,000 more. So the other amount is going to be X plus 5,000. Now, Frank Gore had some money invested at 5%. So this is the amount he had invested at 5%. And 5,000 more invested at 9%. So this is the amount he had invested at 9%. And his total interest for the two of these is $1,430. Okay. So we don't know how much he had originally. We're calling that X. We know that he had that amount plus 5,000 more invested at this, and the sum of the investments gave him this amount of interest. So this is the formula for number 2. Okay, and again I would get rid of my decimals, add some here, and clear and solve. So let's pause and read number 3. Well, as I read number 3, it's very similar to this one. He had some inheritance that he invested at X. Then he had some other part which was this much more than this, so this is going to be X plus 3,500, and this is going to be at 10% here. And this first part was at 9%. And his total interest will be this. So he received an inheritance. We don't know how much that was, but a portion of it will be X. And then the other portion, the X plus 3,500, 9% and 10%. Boy, these were wonderful interest rates that we don't get anymore. And there's the equation for number 3. All right, let's take a look at number 4. Number 4 is going to be similar to the first one we did, where we have a box that represents 17,000. And we're going to divide that into two parts. So part of it will be X, and the other is 17,000 minus X. So she invests part of it at 9% and part at 11%. This is the interest she earns. Find the amount invested at each rate. So really doesn't make any difference. We're going to say the X is the 9% and this will be the 11%. You wonder, why would they invest at different rates? I'd invest it all at 11, but then we wouldn't have an algebra problem. Okay, so let's set this up. So 9% of X plus 11% of 17,000 minus x equals 1670, and you have to write that correctly here. And I would add 2 zeros there. If I was going to solve this, I'd move my decimal places over 2 places, multiplying each term by 100. And then I don't have to worry about decimal places anymore. Okay, number 5, which we're not going to do, is done about the same way. Okay, hopefully this was a helpful series for you.